Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week we're installing new tubeless valve stems on the gravel bike. But before we get into today's video, if you're new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon right next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss this awesome cycling content we got on this channel. So like I said, today we're installing new tubeless valve stems on the gravel bike. So when we built the gravel bike up about a year ago, what we had laying out, we had a set of stands valve stems. Pretty much the most standard tubeless valve stems you can find. We had those, we threw those in here, and they worked. They worked good, no problems at all. However, while we were at Sea Otter, I learned something very interesting, and that's that those standard stands valve stems I put in there, they're not really compatible with a lot of tubeless inserts nowadays. Problem with tubeless inserts is it's going to block the essential one hole coming out of your valve stem into the tire. And it's not going to work. It's not going to inflate enough, not going to get enough air pressure into the tire, trying to get that seat on the bead. So what I found is there is a newer design here, and these in particular, these are a Muc-Off valve stem. They have a design similar to this here. So you can see there are different slots all around the outside of that valve stem, as well as the big center hole in there, so that you can get the most air pressure in, and even though that insert is in the way, you can still get air into the tire quite easily with these notches all around the outside of the valve stem. So with that being and the potential plans for the future for this bike, I said, hey, let's give it a shot. And Muc-Off had a pretty solid deal on valve stems. So we bought some here, got some orange ones, of course, we're gonna throw on the gravel bike, and I'm hoping we can do this in the easiest way. Now, more and more brands are coming out with new valve stem technology that looks like a pressure valve, but it might not act like a pressure valve, be a little bit different. Stan's coming out with a new one, a lot of companies are. And it's something that we may want to change out valve stems in the future. Might be something you're interested in learning how to do in the simplest way possible. Hopefully that's this video. Hopefully we can do that in the simplest way possible. So what I want to do, we want to take those old valves out of the gravel bike. We want to get those out, and we're just going to replace them with these. Now we want to do it without completely debeating the tire. Preferably debeating the tire as little as possible, because if you remember when I installed those tires, it was a bit of a pain. We had to use like every trick in the book to get those tires to actually seat on there. So try and debeat them as little as possible, slip the old valve stem out, pop the new one in, and we should be good. So let's go ahead and pull one of these old guys out of there, hopefully easily. Let's get one out of there, and then we'll compare the new Muc-Off valve stems with the kind of old stands valves that we have in there. Okay, so here's the front tire, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna let out all the air in this tire. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna try and just push back the bead right up here, maybe between like here, enough to access the valve stem. If we can access the back of the valve stem, we can poke it out the back side. Should be pretty simple after that. Again, debead as little of this tire as possible, because I really don't want to have to put it back on. It's not very fun. Come on. There we go. All right. Okay, guys, you can see our valve right there, so we should just be able to unscrew this side. We only debeaded maybe half of the tire, but not like a half the tire debeaded. We should be able to get that pop back on. We'll get this guy unscrewed, and we should just be able to push up. There we go. All right, old stands valve removed. So let's compare these two valves together before we go shove our new Muc-Off one in there. Okay, so here's our two valves here. So here's our old stands one that we used for forever on bikes. Pretty standard looking valve. Realistically, it looks like a valve you'd find on an inner tube. Pretty basic, nothing fancy. And, it's got a little bit of weight to it. Then we pick up our Muc-Off one, which is all aluminum, and first off, there's a weight difference. I don't know how much, but there's a weight difference between these two, even though this one's longer and has more to it. What I really like about the Muc-Off one, though, is it has a good sealing surface here, and then underneath the lock ring, there we go. Underneath the lock ring, there is actually an O-ring there too. So you have a seal on both sides of this valve. You don't just have the one seal, kind of depending on that rubber insert to pop into the tire. It has it on both sides of the valve. So with that being the case, it should seal a lot better. I remember I had to crank the lock ring down on this pretty tight to suck that rubber boot into the hole pretty good. So you have those differences there. Now, of course, you have the nice valve on here, nicer lock ring. It's kind of nicer overall. Now, one of the things we'll notice is, one of the things we'll notice is at the bottom there. So, see if I can get the camera to focus a little bit there. There we go. So in the bottom, you can see the size difference of the hole at the bottom. And that should make a huge difference. I feel like the hole on the stands really isn't that big of a hole. I feel like with the Muc-Off guy, we should be able to get a lot more airflow into the tire. May help with seating the tire a little bit easier than these old stand ones. The stand ones, the hole really isn't that big. I'm ultimately kind of surprised by that. So that is definitely a big difference between these two. So one thing the Muc-Off does come with, I almost forgot about, is that the Muc-Off comes with little extra inserts you can use. So you have either you have extra inserts here. So you have one that's more of like a squared off version here, if the rim has like a more squared off surface to it, and then you have more of a kind of cone shape here as well. Either one of these is going to slide up and over pretty much this little sealing surface here and make just a tighter seal on the wheel. So I need to figure out which one's going to work best. I think we're going to end up using the square one on ours, and then let's get this guy installed. I'm excited to try these guys out. I think it's going to be a whole lot easier because just the airflow quantity, that's a big difference. I've never seen them side to side with how big or small that circle is. So let's start getting this guy installed. It should be pretty simple. Essentially, we need to find which one of these inserts fits our wheel best. Put that onto the end of our valve right here on the inside. Is going to seal. Take these off, slip everything all on there, slide the O-ring, slide the lock ring, tighten it up, and then we should be all set to throw some more air back in. Alright, so I held it up here. So yeah, ours is definitely more of a squared off face to it. So if we use our square one, more of a flat one, that kind of pushing that into that hole there, that looks like it's going to make the most solid fit between the two. So let's go ahead, we'll remove lock ring, valve cap, and the O-ring off of here. I'll set those off to the side here. There we go. And then we get our little insert here, and so this goes on like this, and we just got to slide it all the way down. So just like that, right at the bottom, seat that in, and we can just push this valve into its new home. I just realized the problem. It's going to be getting that tire up and over that valve. Okay, so now that we know that this is what's going to fit the best, we can probably pop the bead off this side this time. Okay, let's try that. And we can kind of shove that where it needs to go. Alright, so now that we have our valve in, just like that, we need to get our O-ring. Just lost it. There it is, O-ring. Got a little O-ring, we gotta set our O-ring on here. Slide that up to there. And then we gotta get our little lock ring. We gotta make sure we put that on the right way. There we go. And let's tighten this guy up. We kind of want to push on the back too. Let's see here. There we go. So we're gonna push on the valve on the back side while tightening up our lock ring. And that feels pretty solid how that is. Okay, now that we have those set, let's go ahead, pop the bead back on our tire here. Okay, and then we'll grab our pump and we'll try and inflate it, see how it does. So I can definitely say that made a bit of a difference. It definitely lets more air into the tire, which is kind of nice. It lets me do it with my floor pump a little bit easier without dying. There we go. One wheel done. We just got to repeat ourselves for the rear, and we should have 2 new valve stems installed. That should make a difference in inflating these tires up. That's kind of the biggest pain with these, and from comparing the old valve stems to these new ones, the hole on these is way bigger. That's way more air volume in. So that should help with seating these tires quite a bit. Let me get the rear installed, and we'll catch right back up with you. So there you go, new valves installed on the gravel bike. Sure how simple it is. So if you want to try out one of these new valves, like the Fillmore valve that supposedly lets more air into your tire, one of the new Stans valves, or any of these new valves that are coming out, or even just wanted to change up the color on your original valve to something that color matches your bike a little better, or adds a little pop to it, it's actually very simple to do. It's a simple process, super easy. You can do it in your home, you can do it in your garage with just a floor pump. You don't have to debead that whole tire, which I was slightly concerned about because these tires are a pain to seat up. I had to use CO2 last time, so pain in the butt to seat these up. But that was ridiculously easy. I'm honestly surprised that was as easy as it was. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt than it actually ended up being. So there you go. If you guys are interested in checking out these Muc-Off valves I picked up, I'm going to have a link in the description down below so you can check them out for yourselves. They offer them in all sorts of different colors, and I picked orange, and you can probably guess why I picked orange, and I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to end it on that. You guys can probably guess why I picked orange on my black and white bike. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. If you have any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love talking to you guys, love answering any questions you guys have, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.